today. Now go and tell all the neighbors, yeah. Then crank up the radio. There's infotainment, brilliance to get you on your way. Wake up and start your day with Jimmy Lakey.
Well, yes, that is me, the guy the choir is singing about. Don't you all grow up wanting to one day hear a choir sing your name? And I have achieved that in my life, for whatever is that worth. And I've often thought we should sell that as ringtones on people's phones, so that every time I call you, which probably is never, you will actually get a choir version, but I don't think you could afford such the joy of doing that. All right, good to have all of you here on the program. Jimmy is my name. It's the hump day, halfway till Friday, Wednesday morning, the 10th of December, and appreciate all of you being here on the program. Another episode of Lakey Unleashed. We go through the news of the day, give a little colorful commentary, get you involved, get you to kind of spark up a little bit with some questions of the day, and then we move merrily along, and you have to go back to work and please the boss and keep working for the man. And don't we all? We all just work for the man, it seems like, unfortunately. All right, good to have you here. Some news stories of the day we'll dive into. Question of the day is simple. Nothing to do with politics. It has to do with holiday fun. How many Christmas trees do you have in your home? I'll unpack the story here in just a moment. I mentioned yesterday that at the height of celebration for my son and I, we had two trees. You had one as you walked into the grand entrance of the house of Lakey, the Lakey estate, and it was right by the little nook of the stairs, and it was glorious. And then we had another one in the main living area. And through time, because we're lazy, decided, no one really comes to our front door. We don't invite people over. And if they do, they're my son's buddies. And they were 15, 16 at the time, but they really didn't care. And so we ceased to do the big tall tree right in the entrance, only do the one in the main living area. How many of you, though, I know people that go crazy. I've met people that have Christmas trees almost in every room. And love to hear your Christmas tree habit during the Christmas tree season. So how many Christmas trees do you have in your home? That is your question of the day, and I'll give you the statistic about how many people out there have more than one tree in their home. I've got the statistic right here. How many Christmas trees do you have in your home? And maybe as a follow-up, when did you put that up? Did you put pre-Thanksgiving, after Thanksgiving? Remember the old movies that go like Christmas Eve or the Christmas Eve? They go buy one of the Christmas tree lot, and that would be the decoration for the evening. Does anybody do that really? I know it happened in old-timey movies that people didn't decorate the Christmas tree until like the night before Christmas. And but if anybody really does that, let me know. I think most people say it's enough work. I might as well get as much wear and tear out of this thing as possible. Rich says one he has, and it's still not up. RJ says they only have one tree in their home. I'll tell you, I think most Americans have one, but there is a significant numbers that have more than one. Now, how many? I don't have the breakdown for that fully right now. I'll get to that. But how many Christmas trees do you have in your home? And does anybody, at least anybody, wait till the old movie style, you go buy a tree or chop one down the night before, 2 nights before Christmas, and decorate it then? Or do you wait? We'll probably have one up on the weekend. Maybe my son comes in to town for his winter break. He'll be home, so I'm sure this weekend maybe we'll put the Christmas tree up. Maybe the next weekend, I don't know, but we'll get that tree up here real soon. My son and I spend usually a few hours decorating, and one of our little traditions on our tree, and I'll get to some news here, is that everywhere I've traveled a lot, my son and I travel a lot, and many of you know through the holiday seasons we often take trips, so we always just get like a little ornament or some token of any trip that we go on, and we have quite a few interesting ornaments, just kind of our own memory lane thing. That's our own sentimental tree. That's the one we have in the main living area. All right. Arloa says, yes, it's too much work to not have it up long enough to enjoy more. So everybody get that thing up. Scott says an artificial that is already up. Stick that thing up. I have an artificial. Yeah, I have the artificial tree. My son for years wanted the real tree, but I for some reason I stonewalled that, and now he doesn't care. So just a mess, and I didn't want to have to deal with it. And I don't know why we just never did. He can usually sucker me and talk me into stuff like that, but not that one. I was like, no, we got a fake tree. It's perfectly fine. So, all right, let's dive into some news of the day. We mentioned this yesterday. Australia has banned social media for people under 16 years of age. What do you think of that? You have kids, you have grandkids. How much do you think social media helps their life and or hurts their life and or distracts them? The social media has been banned in Australia for kids under 16. A new law just went into effect yesterday that bans social media for the kids 15 and under. That maybe today actually goes into effect. We have a time zone difference. They can't have any accounts on the major platforms, including Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, and even YouTube. Fans of the law say they hope that it'll force kids to hang out in person again. 90s nostalgia has been huge, and it's kind of a trend in Australia. And so they say, hey, this new law is like 90s. You don't have a cell phone all the time. It went into effect, bans all social media for kids 15 and under, the first country in the world to do it. It includes age restrictions on all major platforms like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, and even YouTube. Over 1 million Facebook and Instagram accounts disappeared overnight from Australia. So, boom, it just wiped out a bunch of them. Companies face steep fines if they don't deactivate the kids' accounts, and they have to take reasonable steps to keep them from setting up new ones. The law was passed last November in Australia, and they've had a year to figure it out. But a poll says 77% of Australians support the idea. Fans says it'll get their kids off the phones, encourage them to hang out in person. Other people think it'll backfire and just leave them less informed and less connected. Plenty of kids will also find ways around it, like convincing an adult to set up an account. A writer for the Washington Post said they even found a Reddit thread where kids talked about buying realistic masks on Temu to fool the verification systems. They're going to do all Mission Impossible with the kind of a Tom Cruise thing, but that's what they're going to do. Either way, under 16 has never lived, anyone under 16 has never lived in a world without social media. So it's a big deal for them, a chance that this could cause them to like short circuit. Other countries are paying attention closely to see how it works. Australia's prime minister supports the law, called it one of the biggest social and cultural changes they have ever faced. So what say you? Do you agree that this is a good thing for Australia? That's going to be the key. Now, somebody said, how will Australia enforce the law? There's going to be an age verification system, and I'm sure there's an inspection built into the law, and a million profiles disappeared overnight because evidently there's some teeth into this thing, and the kids say they're going to fool it by an age verification thing. I'm guessing there's probably a photo ID, and it has to match your face. I'm guessing there's some kind of a technical way you can set up an account. But it sounds like when the kids are thinking about Mission Impossible, it's going to be hard to cheat the system. They'll find a way, but we'll see. What say you? Do you think it's a good idea? And how do you deal with your kids or your grandkids or your family on social media? Tis the season to be jolly. Everybody gets around. Have you had that moment? You look in the living room and no one's talking. No one's playing the board games. No one's doing the things they used to do. Everybody's deep down in their phone, and it's even grandma and grandpa that are doing that. How do you handle the cell phones and the social media scrolling that happens? That's a question for you. And do you think that Australia does a very good thing in doing that? Also, the question of the day, how many Christmas trees do you have? We want to hear about this. Here's a story that's been going on for several weeks about these drug boat bombings. Let me ask you, do you support them on face value? I know the Democrats are saying this is unconstitutional, but there was a drug boat, trafficking boat that was attacked on September the 2nd. And after the initial hit by U.S. forces was conducted within the rules of engagement, supposedly they double tapped it and they hit it again. And before the first boat leaves the port, before the airplane launches, we've got rules of engagement. Commanders know that they need to stay within the rules of engagement. This is a retired Air Force Colonel, Colonel Bernie Flowers, that says, hey, to Newsmax, those airstrikes are they follow the rules of engagement. These pilots that double tapped these boats did not violate the rules of engagement. He says there's no expectation that a commander is only going to shoot once before he says it's all good. There's no expectation that the commander went outside the rules of engagements. Saturday, U.S. Ambassador to NATO Matthew Whitaker said at the Doha Forum that the negotiators were close to peace in that region, while also noting that any other agreement. So it goes on, but they're saying basically it's fine. The boat strikes in September on the drug boats are engaged within the rules of engagement, and there's nothing to see here. The media, of course, wanting to make it a way to go after Pete Hegseth, the defense secretary, or the secretary of war, if you will. But I don't see anything wrong about it. As a matter of fact, I think the polls I've seen, these drug boat bombings have pretty much a very good. People like them. They think this is a good thing to knock these narco terrorists out of the water. They think it's not a bad thing. Here's a story from Just the News that the airstrikes ordered by President Donald Trump on drug-running boats in the Caribbean have killed 87 narco terrorists. This is an official report from a War Department official. She says she's repudiating one of America's most famous news outlet, Scummy Reporting. Did we read the whole story? War Department Press Secretary Kingsley Wilson sharply criticized the Washington Post for reporting since disputed by the top admiral regarding the mission against Venezuelan drug cartels. That Secretary Hegseth had been suggested killing survivors of a boat by hitting it with missiles. Wilson, the spokesperson, said it's incredibly frustrating, but I think the people who work in the Trump administration are unfortunately very used to it. Talking about the news agency, the New York Times, who recently the New York newspapers who went crazy. We've seen the mainstream media lie time and time again about this president's accomplishments, about the administration is no different. So we will continue to battle the fake news and push back. So they said, hey, you're just going arbitrarily. No, we've killed 87 narco terrorists. Is there anybody out there that says this is not a good thing to kill the narco terrorists? What do you say about the drug boat bombings? Let me hear you. The Democrats think it's a way to get rid of Peter Hegseth. And I say it's a good way to keep Peter Hegseth and just give him some bigger bombs. Oh, they're right on the screen. Scott says, need to use bigger missiles as the packages of drugs are getting to shore. I have not heard that they're getting there, but I have heard that you chum the water with a few narco terrorists and they mix that in with a little bit of drugs. You've got some very angry, remember the movie Cocaine Bear or Cocaine Grizzly or whatever that was? You've got cocaine sharks out there. That's what you get in some of those people. So I would like to... I'd like to see us use bigger missiles as well. All right, good to have all of you here on the show. What do you say about the drug boat bombings? 87 narco terrorists are dead. That's 87 fewer people that are able to bring drugs into this country, oftentimes laced with fentanyl poisoning, and people that think they're just getting a simple Adderall or some simple thing from a friend that they bought at the sorority house or the college campus. Suddenly they're getting something that actually has fentanyl poisoning on it, and they ingest it not thinking they're taking it as a deadly dose. Thousands and thousands of people have died, young people mainly, in America because of these narco terrorists. And I say those 87 people that God can sort out, I'll let him deal with it. But God bless them, and may they rest in peace, or however God intends for them to rest. But the media continues to try to make it a bigger story. I think that it is. I think most people watch this and say this is a good thing. I've said yesterday, I have a friend that I don't even know his politics. I really don't understand his politics. I've heard him say things that make me think he may be conservative. I've heard him say things that makes me think he hates Donald Trump. So I don't know, but I do know. The water to avoid the coughing, or coffee to avoid the water, I should say. Coffee to avoid the coughing. I've heard him say that, man, he wants bigger bombs as well. So I think it's an issue that the Democrats, for some reason, they keep trying to find these issues that are 80-20 issues on the other side, and somehow they keep glomming onto the wrong side of it. I don't understand it. If you can help me with that and the thought of that, feel free to do so. Here's another news story. A lot of folks kind of pass over these stories because they say that was a long time ago. Well, COVID was a long time ago, but I believe we should never, ever, ever forget the tyranny that our government showed towards us, and just the propaganda that we all had to go through. Well, now the National Defense Authorization Act calls for declassification and transparency related to the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic, requiring the Trump spy agencies to release intelligence from the Wuhan lab that was suspected in the release of this COVID in 2019. The text of the National Defense Authorization Act largely focused on funding the U.S. military and clocks in its nearly 3,100 pages, but it also includes a section calling on the DNI, Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, to work with the heads of all 18 U.S. spy elements. By the way, did you know that the U.S. government has 18 spy agencies, and some of them probably looking at you? hmm 18 agencies, you know some of them, but you don't know all of them. They have to perform a declassification review of the intelligence related to the origins of the coronavirus disease 2019, related to the efforts by government officials of entities of the People's Republic of China that have covered up the pandemic. Now, wasn't it I think it was Secret Service or the FBI or somebody said by all accounts, this did come from a Wuhan lab. And at the time, I'm like, why are they even commenting on it? Who is what's the crossover, the chain of command? And everybody just kind of went on. Your lawmakers out there that let you live through the torture of 2020 and the COVID shutdowns, the disaster it brought to kids and the mental health crisis and the inflationary behavior in our economy. Politicians have just kind of moved merrily along. And finally, now in 2025, somebody says, hey, remember that thing that happened in 2019? Why has the U.S. government not declassified the documents to let us know the origins of the coronavirus disease 2019? Could it be that they don't want us to know the origins? Could it be that there's something nefarious there, that maybe the U.S. government was funding some of the research at the Wuhan lab? We're 6 years, a half dozen years later, and from the start of the global pandemic, and the government just kind of said, there's nothing really to see here. They have all the information they need. There's 18 spy departments, and they have not told you what the real origins of the Wuhan Institute of Virology and what viruses might have come out of there, and the circumstances regarding that release of the virus. Does that surprise you that they're still trying to hold on to the secrets of COVID-19? That's the point here. You went through tyranny. You lost. Grandma had to die alone. Family and friends maybe died alone in the hospital. You weren't allowed to go to the nursing home and see your family and friends. All sorts of just disastrous policies. Your kids were locked out of school. Kids lost scholarships to college because they didn't get that final season of sports. All of these things happened. Jared Polis, Gavin Newsom, the Democrat governors were the absolute worst on this topic. And now that it's done, they don't want you to remember. And I say every day they all need to be held accountable. And they need to be held accountable, and we need to know exactly what it is. But the U.S. government, think of that, the U.S. government has still not released all the documents in relation to the origins of the COVID, and they're fighting it. It's going to have to be put into law, and you have to ask yourself whether it's the Epstein files or the origins of the COVID. Why is it that our government continually, at every step, Republican and Democrat, seem to not want transparency? It's quite obvious this should be a no-brainer that you just release this information and let us know who it was that started and how it was that the Wuhan lab of virology got so out of control, and how did this escape? We should know that. We should know how they were working on gain-of-function research whenever the U.S. government, it was the U.S. government involved in the gain-of-function research, because it's illegal for us to participate in gain-of-function research. Could it be that the documents that they're going to have to release would be the very ones that let you know why Dr. Fauci had to take a pardon for things that he had done during the COVID years, because Dr. Fauci was like a Mendelum, and he's not a great doctor. He's a mad scientist. And could it be that all these 18 agencies have not declassified, or no one has ordered these agencies to declassify this information because it's buddies in the government like Anthony Fauci and whoever else is out there that is being protected by this? So I just find this quite interesting that we're still 6 years after the fact, and they're saying, hey, we should still get to see those documents. And you've got the deep state in Washington going, no, you don't need to see those documents. There's nothing to see here. Nothing at all. All right, speaking of tyranny, we talk about vaccinations and COVID on this show. We kind of call it the V word sometimes. I've had to hold up the sign that had this spelled out because the folks that run the big pharmaceuticals don't like to have their products talked about, and so therefore, they buy advertising on Fox, they buy advertising on CNN, they buy advertising online, advertising their drugs, and in doing so, they get a little squeeze to the social companies or the media companies and say, you should call that conspiracy theory, you should call that bad journalism, you should call that fake news, but don't let those people spew on our products, and don't forget the ad buy that we have made in on your platform. We spent a lot of money, so we expect a little quid pro quo, if you will. Now, we know you're news, but you only report the side of the news. So the media companies, bottom line, have been bought and paid for. I want to read this story. It's from the Gateway Pundit, and here's a question I have for you. when you hear this. It originated at the Western Journal. High school senior. Let me take a little sip of coffee so I don't cough on you. High school senior escorted from school for following the doctor's orders and skipping a vaccine booster. So in the state of New York, you're supposed to go in Western New York, and you're supposed to show that you have all of your boosters and your vaccinations are all up to date. And I don't know if you can opt out of vaccinations or the full schedule in New York, but for some reason, this girl was not opted out. And she had a vaccine booster that was due, but she says if I get the booster again, it causes me serious side effects. She attends Depew High School. She's a senior. Her name is Casey Ray, and she got escorted out of school on October the 16th because she did not get the meningitis booster shot, and that was required by the school that she have it. Did not get the meningitis booster shot. I hit the mute button. I did very good that time. It's like a cough button, but it's a long ways away. She didn't get the booster shot, and she says I have bad effects with that, and I don't want the booster shot because it's not good for me, and I've had problems with it. Depew High School senior says she was escorted out for not getting it. She says, I just sit and scroll. There's not really much else I could do. It's emotional with it being my senior year. They wouldn't let me say goodbye to teachers. They won't let me go back into classroom. It's really hard. She says, I was in tears, truly devastatingly in tears. She says she's now in limbo because the email she used to connect with the school was recently disabled. Now, Ray's mom, Andrea Billy, said she had leg pain. When you're younger, having growing pains, that's what we thought it was, and it progressed, and her legs would turn purple and go numb. Casey's aunt told the television station in Western New York, we kind of almost ignored it because we were like, she's just trying to get attention for it. But then she started showing us her legs, and when she would get these flare-ups, her legs started to mottle, and we didn't know what it was, and it was marbling of the skin that she was having, and her legs would blanch, they'd turn colors, and she would get into pain, and she'd get these boosters, and it would disable her. She had friends give her piggyback rides because her legs would literally hurt her, and there was a time when she collapsed at a softball game when the school nurse was her softball coach, and the softball coach witnessed all of it, said her family. And she was a softball 2 or 3 years ago. She would actually have to sit out mid-game because the pain would start to flare up from the high-intensity activity in her legs. And she said, no, I am not going to do it. So the doctor told her, you know what, you should probably skip the booster. Well, the school district said you can't skip a booster. If you skip a booster, you're going to kick your ass out of school, and that's exactly what they do. She said the school will not accept the doctor's note claiming that he is not licensed in the state of New York. The school also says said the note was suspicious, and she had a doctor write one, while I had another doctor write one. I don't know if I don't know what's going on in their head, but they're not taking anybody's word for it. The family says they will go to court if necessary. Now, here's a question for you. If you have somebody that's taking a drug, a pharmaceutical drug, you see it advertised on television, it's supposed to help your blood pressure, or it's supposed to help you do something, I don't know, help your pain or help your makes a gout. If you have a drug that's giving you a bad reaction, it's called an allergic reaction. And what do you do with an allergic reaction? You don't take the drug. They say, stop taking this drug if these side effects exist. You ever watch those commercials on television? Stop doing this if this happens, because they know that sometimes in some places you're going to have a bad reaction to some kind of a drug. And at that point, they're going to have to change it up. What happens if you ever go to the doctor? Maybe you had your wisdom teeth out. I remember when my son had his wisdom teeth out, they were prescribing the medicine for any pain he might have, a year or so ago. And they say, are you allergic to any penicillin? Are you allergic to the material in our plastic gloves? They go through all this list of things that if you're allergic to it, meaning you are going to have a reaction to it, they're going to change the protocol. They're going to do something else. So why is it that if you can watch any television ad and they say stop taking this pharmaceutical product if you have a reaction, but however this young lady has a reaction to a pharmaceutical product that happens to be a vaccination, and we're telling her it's conspiracy theory, you need to suck it up and take it, it's for the good of mankind? Is there any other kind of medical procedure that they advise you or try to force you to do if you're going to have a negative reaction to this cancer treatment or this prostate cancer or this blood pressure medicine or whatever, this diabetes medicine, whatever you're taking? If you tell your doctor, man, I'm getting real sick from that, we got to change it up. And if you got to change this stuff up, it's not good for me. I had a friend that was doing the GLP-1 stuff, the fat shots, right? He's taking those, and he started to, and he noticed that they said you may feel a little nausea. But he was feeling a lot of nauseating effects from the little shots, and they adjusted the dose and still feeling it. And so after about 3 weeks of just kind of uncomfortable nausea, went to the doctor that was doing it, and the doctor said, oh, we should change it up because this one's not working for you. We'll have an alternative because you don't want to have that reaction. That's not a good reaction. So why is it that out there, that in the state of New York and other states out there, they would think it's okay for doctors to they think it's okay to try to force a young lady to have an interaction with a pharmaceutical product when on other pharmaceutical products we're warned, stop taking this if you have the following side effects. That's one of the reasons my eyes opened to do vaccinations. Is when my son was adopted, we were coming back to the United States. We had to stop at a centralized embassy, which happened to be Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. And we go to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and we have to do a medical exam. We have to go to doctors approved in Ethiopia by the U.S. Embassy. So we go there, and I don't speak the language, but the U.S. government has approved these people. And the next thing I know, my son is there, and he's getting poked and prodded, and he's already scared because in the last 24 hours, he's been swooped out of an orphanage. He's with me, who he thinks he calls me dad, but it's a terrorizing spot for him. And they're poking him and prodding him. The next thing I know, I see them sticking needles in him. And I'm like, oh, yes, because I like many people, I said, oh, I grew up here. I got the vaccines. I guess it's okay. By the end of the night, they're in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. We're at the hotel. And he starts screaming. He can't speak English. I don't know what he's saying. And I tried to find out what's happening. And I realized the leg that he got the injections in was, you couldn't even touch it. It was so painful. It was a long story, a long saga, and I began to do research on the old pharmaceutical companies and the vaccination. My eyes were awakened at that point. So I feel sorry for this girl in Western New York, and I think it's a disgusting we let the big pharma companies get by with so much during COVID. And I think we have to continue to wake up to these stories because the big pharmaceuticals and the teachers union driven schools, all of these people are working together to keep the big pharmaceuticals in business and to keep forcing kids to ingest something that may not be good for them. There's going to be evidence about that booger cootie virus. That's what we call the COVID shot, the booger cootie virus shot, that they literally knew that there was things that were happening to kids and heart problems and young men and young athletes dropping dead or passing out like this girl did from leg pain. And we force our kids to do it. Why? Because some politician or some bureaucrat who's taking money from the pharmaceutical companies as campaign donations says, well, yeah, that's a great schedule. The freaking out in places because the Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and the health director said, hey, you know what? The first few days, 24 hours after birth, you don't need to give a baby the hepatitis B shot. A matter of fact, the hepatitis B shot is only for drug addicted people that share needles and prostitutes and whores. That's who it was invented for. And they already test their mother to find if they have the hepatitis B. And if the mother doesn't have it, why are we ingesting that in? Because the people that wrote the vaccine schedule are people that either have worked and or still receive campaign donations from the big pharmaceutical companies. And if they can force everybody, it's the schedule because the government said it's the schedule. Why is it the schedule to give a 1-year-old, a 24, 48-year-old baby an injection of hepatitis B vaccine, a live virus vaccine, when they haven't done drugs and they're not whoring themselves out as prostitutes at that point? It makes no sense, but people think it makes sense. Why? Because we were told by government officials that are corrupt like Dr. Fauci that that's what we do, and we just have to take their word for it. And I'm thankful that this is why we have to keep the spirit of that COVID shutdown in mind, that we have been lied to so many times by politicians that say it's in our greater good and it's for the better good, and yet all they want to do is keep kids like this Kaylee Ray in New York suffering, or make her suffer from her senior year of high school because she won't take a shot that her doctor said don't take because the doctor says it's bad for your health and you're going to have a reaction. Would you try to force the girl to take a blood pressure pill that she was having seizures from or having some reaction? Or would you just say, you know what, for you, maybe this is not the right path? But on vaccines, because we have to keep the pharmaceutical companies rich, we try to force it. And who do we force it on? We try to force it as a science experiment on the little kids. It's on the children. So that pharmaceuticals can make their money. Let's mandate it for the students. Not that it's the right thing to do, and maybe some of them should be put down on the schedule or delayed a few years. I'm not saying there's some of them that should be on there, but maybe they should be delayed. But you can't say that because they want to force you to have them as early as possible, because that creates the money flow for the big pharma companies. So it's a disgusting world. And let me post this story up, because this is the tyranny that the American left still wants to do. Parents are advised to watch out for your kid's health. You would call it abuse if a parent forced their child to take a cough syrup or a codeine or something that they knew the kid was going to have a reaction to. That would be child abuse. But for some reason, the school district in Western New York is trying to force this young lady to take a vaccine that even her own doctor says you should not have to take. It's disgusting. The school district should have a special place in a very hot world one day. And the pharmaceutical monsters that put this crap out and somehow went to the government and lobbied and made donations so that they can have a schedule that's considered to be official, which it actually could be detrimental. I rest my case. All right. Good to have all of you here on the show. Give me your thoughts on that. How many Christmas trees do you have in your home? I've got the story here. It is our question of the day. Our Lois says we have one tree up, but we may put up a small second one just because we had it while living in Texas part-time previous to making the move. So you got an extra tree, you may put it up. Yeah. I don't blame you. We got extra trees as well, but I'm putting one up. It's just my son and I, and the other one is the entrance of our home, and we don't have a lot of. I don't like people. Yeah, I don't even let producer Chad. Okay, producer Chad comes in the front door. He's one of the few allowed to come to the front door. Other than that, we lower the moat, bring out the alligators and the crocodiles, and say, leave us alone. So yeah, I don't. it's a beautiful entry, but I don't have a tree there. Doctors ask if you have a reaction. If they do, they immediately stop you from taking it. Schools are not as smart as they should be. Now, the school district won't take it. The school district will not take her doctor's excuse. She cannot take this vax. It's the vax booster. Again, she's already been vaccinated. It's for meningitis or something like that. So that was a big part. The vaccine policy, especially at the end of COVID, was a big part of college selection and states that were requiring that. Kevin says we have 3 trees. Why? Why do you have 3? I mean, I'm glad you do. God bless you for having 3 trees, but that's a lot of trees. I thought 2 was a lot. Well, how many people, you ever know anybody has a tree in every room? I got to get him a guess, Michael Letts here, but let me do this story here. 1 in 7 people have more than 1 tree. And what I don't know is how many people have 3 trees. 14% of Americans, 1 in 7, will have at least 2 trees in their homes this year. Guessing smaller ones included 2. Are you putting up a tree? A new poll found that most Americans will have a Christmas tree in their home. Surprising number of us will have 2 or more. 71% say they put the tree up or already have. 20% say they won't limit themselves to just 1. 14% overall, so 1 in 7 people will have at least 2 trees, and 2% say they will have more than 3. It doesn't mean what you're necessarily putting up full-size trees. Could be a big one in the living room, a couple of smaller ones on a table. Those count as trees. I'm guessing that should count as a tree. So maybe that's where you end up with 3 trees. That's a caveat. There's a little point of order here as to what would count on a tree. If you have a small tree on your desk that's this big, does that count as putting up 3 trees? I asked Kevin, we have 3 trees, and I said, why? And he says, why not? That's a fair question. Very fair question. Why not? You guys want to put up the trees? Put up the trees. Dang it. 1. Just doing 1. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Michael Letts is in the green room ready to come on the program. And I'm sure he's a man of the jolly world of the Christmas holidays. And I can see Michael Letts having multiple trees in the Letts estate. Let's find out. Michael Letts, welcome in, sir.
Oh, it's always a privilege to be with you, Jimmy. It's such a blast to be on your show. I thank you for the opportunity.
How many trees does Mrs. Letts have up around the house?
None.
Oh, Ebenezer Scrooge. I thought you were the jolly guy. Now I find out you're
well, no, there's an explanation, Jimmy. When you have 10 puppies running around, that's the last thing you want is for them to get hold and start chewing on trees. So this year we will put 1 or 2 up. It'll be the small desk type on the table that they can't get to.
All right, that's forgivable. The puppies have brought no Christmas cheer to your house. It's no. They get no stockings. Do you? I know you're a dog guy. Does your pet get a gift for Christmas?
Oh yeah, multiple.
Multiple.
In fact, right before I came into the studio, she had to show me all the new collars that she's got for all the puppies. I said, "Why? We're getting rid of the puppies." She said, "Oh, but won't they look so precious and cute? They'll be easier to bring the new home with the new collar." I said, "Yeah." I don't see them necessarily understanding that, Jimmy, but I mean, if it makes you happy, go for it.
My dog got a bad haircut a couple of weeks ago, and I was psychologically damaged by it. And I looked it up on ChatGPT. Does my dog know he looks horrible? And it says he doesn't, but they said he can sense pain and agony in my life. So make sure I'm optimistic. So I've been validating him like you're good enough, you're smart enough, and doggone it, people like you. I've been talking to this dog, trying to, maybe need to buy him some Christmas gifts, make him feel pretty.
There you go. I'm sure my wife, I'm sure Karen would agree. She's every day when she comes to the studio. Look what else I found for the pups. I'm going. I don't understand. We're not keeping them. Oh, they need Jimmy.
My dog's a big fluffy. He's a male dog, but it's a Keeshond is the breed. So if you know a Keeshond, they're beautiful dogs. He got shut down. He looked like a lesbian hanging out at a biker bar. That's how much they shaved. they shaved him down. I'm like, this guy's he's a dog, but he's gonna drive a Subaru Outback here real soon. And so I think some pearls or something. Then he's gonna look like a transgender dog. I'm very concerned about what I'm going to put on this dog. Just keep him locked up. All right, Michael Letts, investusa.org, investusa.org. Do want to remind people in this holiday season to invest and keeping law enforcement people very safe. Michael, a couple of crime stories out there. One of those would be that Mayor-elect Mamdani has decided to take a convicted felon as the guy in charge of his safety transition team. Interesting pick by Mamdani. The guy's been convicted of armed robbery. Hey, you're in charge now of the safety team transition.
Yeah, he's in charge of public safety transition, and he get along well with the Mamdani's chief of staff. He hired his chief of staff, who is the architect of the defund the police movement. So they're going to get along great. Because here's what that who committed a crime is going to be in charge of the transition. They've already said what their purpose is. They're going to try to reduce police presence as much as possible and change it with social workers. So my suggestion to Mamdani is, if you're going to do that, then put them all in a Santa outfit with a little elf, and let that be, a little sleigh, and they can run around all the calls in little sleighs with little Santa outfits on. It's going to be about that effective. Jimmy, that's the sad part about it for New York.
It's interesting. I think the strategy of President Trump receiving Mamdani, being respectful there. Trump has the vested interest. He wants New York to succeed. But at this point, it looks like he with friendliness, he gave Mamdani enough a rope and he lets Mamdani go hang himself. You can't say President Trump's causing these bad, poor decisions by Mamdani. He's making these like a big boy put on his pants in the morning.
Yeah, the president and I had that disagreement. I suggested, I told you before, give his plane ticket back to where he came from. But, the president felt like he needed to be respectful and let him know, obviously, that we control the federal resources, and we're going to continue to do that. We're not succeeding that to Mamdani, but we do share one goal in mind. We want what's best for New Yorkers. Although I have a little hard time believing that he understands what's best for New Yorkers. That's for sure.
Well, they're going to get what they voted for there in New York, and hopefully they will maybe be a wake-up call. You never know. Let me ask you, I know you have some ties into the administration and some connections. It seems like every week they're trying to float some theory. You never heard any theory in the Biden administration. There's rumors that this cabinet officer's out. There's rumor that this person's out. At first, I was in Africa last week, and there was rumors that Pete Hegseth was on a very short leash for these drug boat bombings. Then the White House said that's not true. This week, I read that Kristi Noem has been the rumor. The media is just making up these rumors that somehow these cabinet officers are about to get their butts fired. Or are they making it up? Is there some problem with the cabinet?
No, there are. Well, let's back up. There are some problem with a few cabinet members, but let me tell you what gets the president more than anything. Give me some action. If you're supposed to be cleaning up crime, then clean it up. Don't give me excuses. If you're supposed to be leading the front on the Department of War and using our resources to defend the American people, then do it. Well, what if I get criticism? I don't care if you get criticism, as long as you're doing something, do it the right way and get it done. And so, what you're talking about with Pete, that was a bunch of hogwash. That was the liberals hoping to make a mountain out of something that wasn't there. When it comes to issues of getting indictments and showing accountability, there's some real questions. There's growing concern that we're not getting anything done. Now, let me be very blunt, Jimmy. I think you're going to see in the next 2 or 3 weeks, especially as we start 2026, that it's going to be a total landslide in that area. You're going to see a bunch of indictments coming down, very high-profile people, including, I believe, you'll see President Obama very shortly indicted. So my point being is, when that starts, then you're going to see less of the frustration about you haven't gotten anything done. But right now, it's precarious. And, the problem with that is that they bring up the past, like with Pam Bondi. You were always a Democrat before you just suddenly switched to become a Republican. You haven't indicted any politicians because they're all Democrats and they're all your friends. And, you open yourself up for a lot of speculation. And that's what I have been saying all along. Do something.
Yeah.
That way you can at least point to something. And Jimmy, if you don't, then you're going to have to answer the questions why. And those questions haven't been answered. And yeah, there is some frustration there. Christie, on the other hand, is doing a fantastic job. She's subject to a few criticism here and there, but you can't please everybody. And so the president understands that. He just wants to see that you're doing what he asked in the agenda. You're trying to make progress to get things done. And he'll give you enough rope to hang yourself. If you keep giving excuses and you don't end up doing anything, you better start looking for another position.
Coming back to the indictments, you say that maybe in 2 to 3 weeks after the first of the year, it start coming down. One thing I found interesting is that right as I was heading out of the country a week or so ago, the story was breaking that we were lied to about this Thomas Crooks character. Christopher Wray in the hallowed halls of Congress said, there's really no social media platform. We don't have any presence of him. Turns out that was all a lie. It took some leaks to, I believe, the New York Post and Tucker Carlson for that story to go out there. How is it that Christopher Wray and the former agents of the FBI seemingly have covered something up regarding that assassination attempt? And it seems like that would be something we would fast track to get the bottom of it. Where's that investigation, especially now that it's public knowledge that Christopher Wray lied in Congress?
Well, I think that's where you're seeing the frustration, because it's not just with Christopher Wray. We're taking some additional things like with Charlie Kirk and others. And we're just coming up very quickly and giving an answer. Oh, we found the person, taking him off the street. Nothing to see here anymore. Well, let's move on to the next story. And we find out that's not the case. I mean, not the case at all. Just like with the pipe bomber. You say, okay, found him. But you know what? That case has been sitting on the desk for 5 years. Took you 5 years and then when we've had it for almost a year. Took you that long with the evidence that had already been accumulated to do anything about it. And this is not just talking about the Department of Justice. This is talking about the Bureau. Now, I mean, they got good friends over there. You know that. But I will tell it like it is. Folks, you can't do 3 great things that expect that to validate doing one cover-up or one not being transparent. It doesn't work that way. You have to be consistent on doing what the American people expect. That's transparency. That's honesty. That's integrity in your position. You can't afford to miss it one time. And, I know there's a lot of people that are counting on protection, that have done a lot of favors in the past, shall we say, et cetera. But, Jimmy, that's what's got us in this mess. And if we keep going down that road, America will dissolve and be no more. So we've got to break it. You can't just break off a little piece at a time, Jimmy. Take that base and smash it on the ground and shatter it into a million pieces, and let's get moving. And that's the problem that we've had.
For those of us on the outside, you have a much more inside view. Is the problem that, I'm going to use names, but you can skip names. Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, Bondi. Is the problem is that I'm guessing they want to see it? Is it just they're stonewalled and it's buried somewhere? I mean, and why can't we just figure out who's hiding all this stuff?
Let me give you 2 aspects. You come in and you state that you have great intentions, you support the policies and the agenda. Then you realize you've got a political background, you've got a lot of friends that pull you aside and say, Jimmy, I need you to do me a favor. And now you feel trapped. Then when you take a look at your agency that you're overseeing, it's been so corrupted. They ask you to go in and clean it out in an afternoon. is an impossibility. There's no way. When you bring in one person, you got 38,000 employees. Jimmy, how do you even know out of the 38,000 how many are corrupted? And then you go into the next segment. Those that are bold enough to say, I don't agree with your policies, quit and leave. You say, great, that's what we're supposed to do, right? Yes, but now who do we replace them with? Now you've got the left doing things like, okay, Jimmy, you go in and work with them now. Now, when we take back power, we got your name. We're going to find something to go after you with and something to indict you on and something to make your life miserable in the years to come. And most of them say, you know what, I'm comfortable where I'm at now. Why do I want to go into that? Yeah. And so you have a lack of personnel to back up what you're trying to do. You have a hard time identifying who the negative personnel are. You're getting pressure from quote unquote friends that, hey, just don't take up this case today. Go do something else. And most of them can't withstand it, and they cave. And that's the problem. Where I've been critical of the administration is when you see them caving, pull them aside and say, look, if you're not cut out for this, that's fine. Leave on a good term, walk out the door, I'll find somebody else that can. It's when you carry this on and harm the administration and the American people, that's when it's going to start getting ugly.
Yeah. The voice of Michael Letts. Michael doesn't have a Christmas tree up, but we don't judge him. But he will have a tree up very soon. Michael, you have Invest USA, and unfortunately, with the craziness of the left and the attacks on ICE and the National Guard, it's always a reminder that there's people that even on Christmas Day will suit up the uniform and not be home for Christmas because whether locally or nationally, they'll have a badge or a uniform on to protect and to serve the public. And sometimes those people are going out there unprotected. They may have a old-fashioned little vest or maybe just a little badge as a bulletproof, but you provide law enforcement with armor, body armor that can help them, full protective gear for an active shooter vest. And it's important they have it because people are crazy right here in America shooting at the National Guard agents.
Oh, that's only the tip of the iceberg. We have so many issues in this country where our first responders are putting their lives on the line, and more are dying. Just to give a few statistics, we have the highest death rate we've ever had. We have the lowest morale we've ever had. We have the highest suicide rate we've ever had. Folks, if we want law and order, if you want to feel safe, we've got to protect the people that are protecting us. And so the way we can do that is show them our support. Make a donation, make sure that you help provide a vest for them. And then the other thing I've always asked Jimmy on your show is see a first responder, especially on this holiday season, take 2 seconds to just say, thank you for your service. That's all you have to say. It'll make a huge difference in their outlook, a huge difference in their morale. And that made a huge difference for you because you want to be safe this holiday season.
Yeah. InvestUSA.org is the website. And the full set, I think the full active shooter protective gear, $700, but every amount matters. If you can only give $7, give the $7 and help out. And do you have a number on how many vests or how many
17,000, a little over 17,000 so far.
Wow. Well, let's do 17,000 more, hopefully, in the days ahead. And there's a bigger need probably than ever before as well. So InvestUSA.org. It is a nonprofit for those end-of-year gifts. InvestUSA.org, InvestUSA.org. Michael, it's a pleasure, sir. I'm sure we'll talk again before the holiday season. But in the meantime, Merry Christmas. Happy holidays, sir.
The same thing to you, and good to have you back on American soil. And thank you for what you're doing for the kids in this. You're giving hope. The kids around the world. We appreciate that, Jimmy.
The passport worked. They let me back in every time. It's
we made a call. You just didn't know it. We made a call. We thought about, saying, a denial, but we said, nah, we need him here. Go ahead and let him on.
This guy looked at my passport and said, welcome back home, Mr. Lakey. And I was like, oh, yeah, I like it. It's nice to go walk through the airport so see President Trump's photo right there by the immigration.
Yes, it is. It's nice to know that since you're in America, you're valued now.
Yeah,
instead of being at the end of the totem pole.
Never knew with Biden. I never knew if they're going to let me back in or Obama.
With those administrations, you were on the bottom of the list, And you let him pull him in right before the door closes. If you catch half of him, leave the other half behind, so be it.
Yeah. I love Rwanda. I could have stayed there as they wouldn't let me back in. So they like me there as well. Michael Letts, a pleasure, sir. Thank you very much for hopping on the program. Hey, I got to tell you a story. You may get the newsletter yesterday from Rivers Promise. I teased it. I'm going to do it here in 60 seconds. I'm going to tell you the story that I prayed for a cow. No, I didn't pray to get a cow. I actually prayed for a cow. I'm going to tell you the story in 60 seconds. Don't go anywhere. I'm afraid we have a new trend in Rwanda. People are going to bring their cows to me. I'll tell you the story in a second, 60 seconds. But let me first tell you about Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com. Sherry's a great friend of the program. You heard her on Monday's show. You heard her on Friday's show. Talking about real estate. She's wanting to really help you 2026 be the year that your real estate dreams come true. Let them come true, my friends. Maybe it's your first time home purchase. Maybe it's time to upsize, downsize, whatever the case may be. Whatever you plan for 2026, you need to start the strategery now. That way you are ready to go. She advised on the show Monday, if you're thinking about the spring selling or buying season, make sure you try your best to go with the early spring buying system, which can start in February or March, as opposed to, well, I'll wait till April, May, or June. You've already missed one entire wave of what we call the spring buying, this spring real estate season. Just go to the website, homeswithsherry.com, 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 and you be sure now to tell her that Jimmy Lakey is talking about her on the radio, homeswithsherry.com. All right, I got to tell you a story. This has to do with our work in Africa. So I asked yesterday who would help us. We're wanting 15 people. We're happy with 12. We want 15 people that will, sometimes you see pretty pictures of kids. I'll give $30 for food. I'll give $10 for a new uniform, whatever. And that's great. We appreciate all of that. It's small gifts to really make the world go round for us. But sometimes we don't ever ask for the big thing. And sometimes people go, well, $30 didn't feel significant, but this sounds like an amount that I'd like to tackle. And so if you have a class of 30 people that costs $65 a month to keep a class, those kids in class, food and all those things they need, that's 30 times 65 is $1,950. And so we have I put out a question, how many people out there over the next couple of days, weeks, by the end of the year can donate $1,950 one time, and that will make sure that an entire classroom is funded for an entire month. It takes care of their food. It takes care of everything for an entire classroom for 1 month. It's $1,950. Immediately, our brother Scott out there jumped in. He did $1,950. We had a couple of more emails yesterday that people did partial of that. So I got that. I think we have another full one that came in as well. So we made a little bit of progress, but we're not there yet. And so I throw this out there. First of all, don't feel pressure. If you say, Jimmy, I can't even afford to give $19, then God bless you. This is not for you. But if any of you are out there that say, you know what, I'd like to give the $19.50. Maybe you've given a lot this year. Scott already sponsors 4 kids. Maybe you give it a lot. And maybe I had one guy donate yesterday. I haven't heard from him in 4 or 5 years. I think he got the newsletter yesterday, and he donated for the first time in a long time. So $1,950. If you can donate it, do your credit card. It's at riverspromise.org, or the address is on the website. Happy to do that. But let us know if you are mailing it, and we'll keep it anonymous if you prefer, or we'll announce to the world what a great person you are. But $1,950, and that is that we want about 15 of these, and that it takes an entire year plus of just one whole classroom that we are funding, and it's a different way to approach it. There's a lot of ways to approach the numbers: monthly per kid, monthly per food, monthly per shoes, but this is the kit and caboodle. $1,950, a one-time donation will fund a classroom for 30 days. And that's their food, that's their basic life amenities. It takes care of a lot of stuff. And it also takes a lot of pressure off of me, personally, pressure off the organization when we have those larger ones. And again, we don't despise the small gifts. We love those small gifts. Keep those coming into the year. Keep those coming. But if you can do the $1,950, feel free. Maybe you can do the 1,000 and you're going to find a friend to do the 950, or maybe you tell us you'll do 1,000. Somebody else will step up with 950. Let us know however that works. We're happy to do it. You can, again, keep it anonymous, or you can comment on Rumble or YouTube or Facebook, and we see it right here in the studio. 1,950. We're looking for a total of about 15 of those in the next several days. So if you can help us out, if nothing else, pray about it and see what you can do. $1,950. If you can't do that, do what you can. End of year giving for Rivers Promise. Now, let me tell you the story, the cow story. So I go visit this family. I told you there's a lot of times we have to go visit families that are in a Rivers Promise Legacy Christian Academy family. This is the family that had some real tragedy happen. I mentioned it a couple of weeks ago about their young daughter and some bad things that happened. And we had to step up as an organization to help her because some things that happened in her on the way home. She lived miles and miles from the school. And for a few days, she was bad things happened by a bad guy who probably will never see the light of day again. So she's being treated, and we loved her. And I went to the home, and I was there and sat in their house and saw their little livestock. And I even showed a video tour of this is the house I was in, and beautiful family. And I walk in, and you walk in through the little, I call it the courtyard, but it's still behind the front door of their house. There's a pig and some piglets. You've seen that on video maybe. And then you go over in this other area that could have been a storage closet, but there's a big cow in there with its head out eating the hay and the grass they've set on the ground. And then there's another room that has a small baby cow in it. And so as we go into the house, I talk, I bring the little girl a toy and just kind of give, I guess, words of encouragement and hug on her and tell her what a great little girl she is, and just try. She's teary, but by the end of the visit, she was smiling. And I asked them, I said, we took them food. You'll see some photos out there of the family standing in front of bags of foods and rice that we provided. The little thing on top, the brown thing, is bars of soap that they can break off. They use that for laundry and everything. When they're down at the getting clean water, they wash their clothes with that. So that was a lot of stuff we gave them. That was a big blessing to them. And as I was leaving, I said, "How's your cow?" And I said, "Is this a milk cow or a beef cow?" And they told me that's a milk cow. And I had this profound moment you saw in the video. I said, if I'm going to be this cow, I think I'd rather be a milk cow also, as opposed to be a beef cow, because it doesn't end well for the beef cow. So in the course of the conversation, they said, the cow's not doing all that great. He's healthy, or she's healthy, but not putting out enough milk that we can sell. Putting out less than 1 liter a day, and that's enough maybe for the family, but it's not enough for us to. That was one of their sources of income, selling the extra milk. So I said, I'll pray for your cow. And my guys laughed, they smiled, and I didn't think it was a big deal. I said, I'll be praying for your cow. I didn't think anything of it. And so under my breath, I said, Jesus, please help that cow. And I said it out loud, and they're looking at me like, is he being serious? Right? I said, don't make fun of me. Jesus is going to help your cow. And I just played it off just like that. It wasn't a super spiritual moment. Oh, it wasn't that. It was just conversational. That's just how I approach my prayer life most of the time. So very conversational. That night we're talking about it back that night. I go back to my hotel, and every time I thought about it, I said, God bless that cow. Let that cow make more milk than it did yesterday. And so the next day they got the cow make a little bit more milk. And my guys were like, you can't pray for a cow. I said, sure you can. You ever break down on the car on the side of the road? It's dark. It's night. You're like, Jesus, just help this thing to start. Let me get to the nearest gas station. Let it start, please. We do that. And maybe you're not believing, but I pray that way and I believe. So I pray for the cow. So I'm heading to the airport the final day. And I keep joking because none of my guys that work for me really believe that I was really seriously praying for the cow. Every moment that I could think, I pray for the cow. And so as we get to the airport, I hear my guy, field director, Jonas, in the back seat, and he's on the phone. And sometimes they get animated on phone, and I don't know if they're yelling or whatever. And he hangs up. He goes, Jimmy, the cow is now in 24 hours is producing 2 times or more the milk that was happening. And I said, see, I told you should pray for the cow. And my other guy, Willie, says, I'm like doubting Thomas. I feel bad. I wanted to see. So the cow was doing less than 1 liter, and within 24 hours, it was doing 2.5, pushing 3 liters of milk. And it was nothing more than a Christmas cow miracle. And I'm waiting for my cow report. I'm going to give it a few days to see how the cow's doing. So I sent out a newsletter about the cow. There's even a photo of the cow yesterday that's in there. This is the cow. And the cow's producing more milk. The family's happy. They can now make a little extra money selling the extra milk. And they're thrilled, and I prayed for a cow. And I don't need to pray for a cow for my school. We don't need that. But I do know that God is capable of providing everything that we need at Legacy Christian Academy. He's done that for years. And maybe that's an encouragement for your life as well. You think something, your cow in life is not producing milk. Sometimes it's a reminder that you can pray, because if God cares for a cow in the backside of Rwanda in a little village hut that is a place that you wouldn't want to really spend the night at, then God cares for all of us. And I know he cares for the kids at Legacy Christian Academy as well. And so first of all, prayer is a good thing. We should all learn to pray more. And it doesn't have to be some super, voodoo thing. Just ask what you want. That's what the Bible says to do, and that's what we did with the cow. I did with the cow, and even nobody came in agreement with me, but I still believe for the cow, and the cow's doing good. The cow's doing fantastic, last I heard. And even if it's not, even if they got 3 or 4 days of increased milk, I'm happy. But I believe God takes care of that. So I'm also believing that this year, as we wind up our year at Rivers Promise at Legacy Christian Academy, I'm praying that there will be 15 people that will give $1,950. It's possible. Maybe not everybody watches this show. We have a newsletter will work. We're going to put that out this week. But I'm praying that we'll have 15 people do $1,950, and that will fund a classroom for one entire month. If that's you, maybe the cow story inspires you, feel free, go to the website, look up our address, and make a donation, Rivers Promise. But that's the story. I prayed for a cow, and it seemed to have worked. My friends told me they got the elevator to the airport. I got out of the car, and they said, you know what? They said, Jimmy, we got to be careful with this. And I said, why? They said, seriously, people are going to get their cows out and bring them to you for prayer. I said, well, let's pray for all the cows. I said, pray for the children, pray for the cows. I said, if this country's ever going to get better, it's going to be because God moved and helped us out. So we need to have that. So pray for the cow. Anyway, if you can donate all that, see the segue here, $1,950. If you can donate that, I believe that God will answer our prayers. And if you can't donate that's out of your pocketbook range, do what you can, or just pray like I did for the cow and say, God, I can't produce milk, but this cow can. So would you help that cow produce milk? And maybe you say, I can't donate $1,950 to Rivers Promise, but would you please raise someone else up that can give that $1,950 so we can all participate? Jeff says, can some of the greatest need fund go to care for the said cow? That cow's doing pretty good. That cow's, it was a pretty looking cow too. The cows it's a different world. Yeah, vet care for the cow. Vet care is expensive. Prayer is free. How about that? If I'm going to spend money, I'm going to try to spend my money on the kids, but we're just going to pray for the cow. That's what we'll do. Vet care. I don't know. People donate to like the SPCA, I guess. I mean, nothing wrong with that. I think it's important to have that, but yeah, people probably donate to vet care. Could be another angle of donations we get. All right, pray for the cows, and you get the idea. All right, it's Wednesday. It's time for the Stolen Meme section of the show. Hump Day, halfway till Friday. Glad to have all of you here. I think we had a consensus. Most people have 1 or 2 trees, and that's fair. Kevin, I think, is reaching out the record there. He's got 3 trees going up, and I think it's also whether you count the small trees. Count the small trees. Got to do that. What stories did we not get to today before we do meme roulette? We did the vaccine tyranny one. We got that one done. Minnesota. This story of Minnesota's corruption is fantastical and sad. And we'll continue to follow that as well. More stories on that tomorrow. I also have a story. IMDb. You know what IMDb is? It's where you can find the official record of movies and productions, and it's kind of an official Hollywood tracking site. They have released the scores for the best movies of all time. And that may be a question tomorrow, the best movie of all time. I'm not trying to get into a discussion whether Die Hard's a Christmas movie. We all know it is. But I'm trying to get into a discussion of what really is the movie that does get you in the Christmas spirit. Listening to a friend the other day, said their holiday tradition was to decorate the tree for Home Alone played in the background. That's just what his kids like to do, and they still do it as now they're older. I knew someone that they decorated their entire house, and they would watch the original Miracle on 34th Street, and then followed by the digitized and modern remake of the Miracle on 34th Street, and that was the timing they needed to decorate pretty much everything for Christmas. And the lady kicked the family out of the house and said, "This is my job." It was not family tree decoration; it was her. And but that was the Miracle on 34th Street. I think the kids got to come back in and hang an ornament, but the whole decoration, it was one of those show homes, and it was beautiful, but that's what she'd like to do. Anyway, we'll talk about that, the best movies, highest ranked of all time. We're going to get to that. And also artificial intelligence is not on the docket yet, but we will get to that as well. All right, it's time for Steal the Memes. Everybody ready to steal a meme? This is where we go around the globe and we steal and violate intellectual property, and we just steal stuff. We steal stuff, and no, we try to give credit. You can see where we stole it from most of the time on the screen, and it just prevents producer Chad and I from having to work extra. We work enough on the show, and we do it out of the goodness and the kindness of our heart, and so we do. We appreciate being able to steal stuff on occasion. And at the end of it, by the way, you hear a gong, and that means even the intellectual property thieves of the Chinese have said you've stolen enough intellectual properties for today. So that's what we'll do. All right, here we go. We're going to do the meme roulette section of the show. Let's do it. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. The moment you hear a weird noise in the house and you think you're so lazy, you think, whatever, I had a good run. You ever do that? No, I got the gun, baby. I'm hunting you down in the house. I'll hunt you down like it's kind of like Die Hard. Yeah, I'll hunt you down. Don't do that. Yeah, but maybe some of you maybe do that. Ever done that? Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. If the welfare, I got to blow my screen up here a little bit larger. If the welfare fraud in Minnesota is this bad, imagine how bad the voter fraud is. Yeah, that's true. Well put, illustrating absurdity. If they can cheat on the welfare, cheat on the welfare and the Somalis and cheat on all that crap, think of how they can cheat in an election. Yep, that's true. Right around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Has anybody ever actually gotten salmonella for eating a raw cookie dough? Or are people just trying to stop me from living my life? That's true. You ever have that? How many of you got to lick the blender things? You got those. That had raw eggs in it. My mother was not afraid, or she was trying to kill me. I'm not exactly sure. It could have 6, 7. Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Either way, it could have done that. Yeah, I don't think anybody's gotten the salmonella from the cookie dough. I mean, they sell the cookie dough in the grocery stores. It's raw eggs, right? Delilah, you would know. All right, round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Struggling New York Jets sign Uncle Rico. New York Jets have been struggling for years, and Uncle Rico's there. That's good for him. Napoleon Dynamite, where are you at? Round around the globe we go, slow motion. Where we steal the memes from no one knows. Liquor before beer, you're in the clear. Beer before liquor, don't be a little bit. Don't be a little bitch. You'll be fine. Beer before. It took me forever to go liquor before beer in the clear, or mix your liquors never sicker. Now you're trying to teach me a new one. And you forced, because I'm reading in real time, to say little bitch. And I didn't mean to say that. It was not in my intention. I would have said little B word, or which with a B. Pure tongue. Now I got to go wash my mouth out with soap. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from no one know. I'd like to solve the puzzle. Tim Waltz is could it be retard? Oh, I solved the puzzle. Ding, ding, ding. Vanna, turn the letters. Tim Waltz is round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. Oh, I got ink on. That's what playing with the pen earlier. Ladies and gentlemen, there's the gong from China. We have stolen all the properties we can intellectually from other sources. We've hit our quota for the day, and because of that, we must bid you adieu. Don't forget, my title says I'm praying for a cow. If you missed that newsletter, we got another one coming up about the class sponsor, the 1 month of class sponsorship, but we could use some more of you to do that. Looking for 15 people that can give $1,950 one-time end-of-year gift, and that will fund a classroom that will fund a classroom. Now, we have 7 full classrooms at our, we have 1 working room that's going to have to convert to a classroom, 7 classrooms. And if we get the 15, that would be each classroom there would have 1 month, 2 months of sponsorship. That takes a lot of pressure off the organization. And then there would just be 1 extra month. 15 is a number that I felt was kind of a round number, easy to do, but that's kind of how you spread it out. It's we got 7 active classes of 30 kids. And if we get the 15 to do 1,950, that means each of those classes for 2 months are sponsored. And that allows us to start building up our reserve. Because I'll be honest with, we do, because we have so many unsponsored kids that attend our school, that your 1950 helps cover those unsponsored kids, because on months that we don't have that, we lose money operating a school, because sponsorships only cover this many kids, and then we have to spread that and take care of kids that don't have sponsors. So if you want to sponsor a child, go to our website, riverspromise.org, and see the great list of children that are there, and love to have you sponsor a child monthly, $65. But if you just like to do the one-time gift of $1,950, that sponsors an entire classroom. And again, we have classrooms we have so many unsponsored children that it really gives us the this really helps us take care of those kids that have not yet found a sponsor through our organization. riverspromise.org, 1,950. If you can't do it, do what you can, and it'll all add up together, and we will get to that 15. So we appreciate it. And again, there's other ways to break it down. $30 feeds a kid 2 meals a day for a month. $25 buys them a pair of Christmas shoes. There's other ways to make sure you know what you're giving and how impactful it is. But that 1,950 is a new one I want to throw out there for those of you that aren't challenged by the 25 or the 10, but that bigger number might light you up. Some people are lit up by the bigger numbers and say, don't ask me for something small, ask me for something big. So I'm asking for something big, $1,950. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been a pleasure for producer Chad and I to wake up and spend the morning with you. Michael Letts has been on the show. We got a lot of great guests and lineup coming back on tomorrow. But until we meet again, happy Wednesday, everybody. It's December. Glorious day the Lord has made. Whatever state you're in, we appreciate you tuning in. Don't forget, like and subscribe us on all the podcast platforms. In just a few minutes, this very program that you just watched on the Streamcast will now go into podcast form. It'll be on Apple Podcasts. It'll be on Spotify. It will be on the iHeartRadio app, and just look up Jimmy Lakey Unleashed. And you can hear the show. You won't be able to see it, but you can hear it. If you missed part of the show, go back on all the other platforms, the YouTube, the Facebook, and you should see it on the page's history of the Rumble, and you should be able to watch the thing in its entirety. Ladies and gentlemen, God bless you. God bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey. Peace. Peace. I'm out of here.